Hello everyone, and this is the guide to how to play Guan Yu. In this guide, I'm teaching a basic tutorial on the god, his abilities, item builds, how to deal with specific scenarios, and mainly just going over basics. This is mainly for people who are new to Smite and are interested in playing it and want to learn. Um, there might be a few instances where there will be advanced moves that I will teach that maybe some of you might not know. But anyway, let's get to the guide. Starting off, every single guide I do, I go to level 5 immediately to go over all the abilities. Okay, going over Guan Yu first. The first thing I want to talk about is his passive, Painless. Each time Guan Yu damages or receives damage from an enemy, he gains stack. This includes minions. So if he would just basic attack minions, he gains stacks from minions. If he gets hit by minions, he gets stacks. If he were to get hit by a god, he gains stacks. If he were to hit a god, he gains stacks. At max stacks, each of his abilities do an increase effect. So to get to max stacks, it will be 20 max stacks. It used to be where it used to do a percentage based on how many stacks you had, and that's how it scaled each of the abilities. Now you have to get to the max stacks before you get the additional benefit from each ability. Starting things off, Conviction is his first ability. Conviction is a heal, an AoE heal around him. The unique thing about this heal is it heals minions. It doesn't just heal him and gods, it heals minions. At 20, let me just make sure. Boosted healing. Okay, so how the max stacks at Conviction, on max stacks of Conviction, the healing goes from 50 to 100, 75 to 150. What it does, it doubles the amount of the original scaling healing. So if he was to do as seen here, he does 50 healing with no conviction stacks. It gets boosted to 100 healing. Okay, this is important to note. It's not 50 and then he has max conviction and he does 50 and 100, which does 150. He only does 100. This boosted is what it will do. I'm going to show this an example. I'm going to take some damage. So right now I'm at 300, and I'll wait till I get to 350 health to show better. If it were to work as described earlier, if this was to work where it would give 150 in total, I would go up to 500. In this case, I go up to 450 because this is the bonus healing. Do not get confused here. This is a kind of a lie by the game. It shows, hey, it's boosting it, so this gets boosted by another 100. It does not. This is what it becomes. Anyway, the unique thing about Conviction is anytime you were to heal an ally god with this ability, you will reduce your cooldown by 2 seconds. Now, I'm going to switch teams real quick. Okay. Unfortunately, there's not a proper way to show this, but how it works with his one is if you have multiple teammates around you and you heal them, it will only go once. It only works once. It does not do multiple ones. Healing from guns reduces all cooldowns by 2 seconds. As in gods, as in it's 1 to the other 4 gods, only reduces by 2 seconds. If you heal 4 gods, you don't reduce your cooldowns by 8. You only reduce it by 2. That's the rule with this. Again, very weird tooltip. It's very weird with the tooltip how it states it. Unfortunately, I can't show it because of the fact that I don't have Ra is only one teammate, so I can't really show that. Anyway, continuing onwards. His 2, Warrior's Will. This is a simple dash ability that has a little bit more aspect to it. It's a very short dash, as you see, but it's instantaneous. What it does damage, 135. While he is doing this dash, he is immune to roots, cripples, and knockups. This means that he pretty much can't be stopped while doing this ability unless by a stun. Normally, Hercules stun would probably beat this. Anyway, continuing onwards. The 2, it if I were to dash through an opponent, it does a slow. This slow is for 2 seconds, and it is originally 20%. When you get max stacks on this, okay, I'm just gonna get rid of all these real quick. So how this ability works is the boosted slow. It goes from 20 to 40. It's similar to the boosted healing, where this tooltip is kind of weird with it. What it does is just changes the slow from 20 to 40%. The same thing with conviction here. If Guan Yu uses his dash, if this time instead of hitting ally gods with the dash, if he hits an enemy god with the dash, he gets a 2% cooldown on all of his abilities. So notice how it's 10 seconds now. Now it's 7 because it went down, counted down while I was doing the dash. But you get the point. His 3, Talu Assault. Talu Assault used to be one of the most stupidest abilities in the game, but Talu's Assault, what it is Guan Yu spins his blade in a fearless display, slicing enemies in front of him for damage every 0.3 seconds for 3 seconds, so 10 ticks. Each hit steals enemy protections, giving them the Guan Yu. Guan Yu is immune to knockback during the entire duration of this ability. So during its whole entire duration, he is immune to knockbacks. Continuing onwards, the damage per hit, since it's if you do the full tick of this, at full ticks, this will do 150 damage at level 1. However, it is very difficult to get all 3 ticks because of it's a very long ability, and because there's also an animation. Also because of the animation on the startup. So you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But there's a little bit of an animation delay on the ability. It still does the full 10 ticks, but there's a little bit of an animation delay. What it does is, for each tick, it hits. If you hit an enemy 3 times, the max of 3 times, you can do it 10. You can hit him 10 times, but the max this ability will stack is 3. For each time you hit an enemy with a tick of this ability, you steal 2 protections from them. It starts off where it's 2 protection, so you can get 6 protections from one enemy, steal 6 of protections of both magical and physical, and give it to yourself. This goes up to 10, so it goes from 6 to 30. What happens is, as you level up this ability, the duration increases from 3 to 5 seconds. You keep the buff on you. When you have max conviction stacks, when you get 20 conviction, 20 painless stacks, convictions is first, but 20 painless stacks, instead of 2 protections it starts off, it goes to 3 and goes to 15. So you go from 6 to 30 to 9 to 45. This is very useful for shredding tanks. It's an assault on it's an assault on the enemy's protections. Guan Yu's ultimate, Cavalry Charge. Now, this is a very interesting ability. Let me just level up him to level 5 real quick. Okay, Cavalry Charge. Cavalry Charge. Guan Yu mounts his war horse and charges for 4 seconds. While mounted, he can steal an attack and is immune to crowd control. Enemies hit take damage and are slowed. Each hit increases damage from consecutive hits against the target by 20%. Enemies hit on the dismount are stunned. You can dismount anytime by canceling as in right-clicking on the ability. So just to show you what it looks like, you get on a horse and you can cancel. Okay. How this works is it starts off. This is actually the highest scaling ability in the entire game. This is the highest physical damage ultimate in the entire game. If you were to hit all hits of it. One interesting note is I'm just going to show it real quick. So this is how he swings normally. This is with no attack speed. I'm just going to build some attack speed on him. Okay. With attack speed, he swings the same amount. Attack speed does not affect this ultimate whatsoever. Just to show again. The attack speed does not change how many hits he does to count. He will do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then if you sell all these, and do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's the same amount no matter what your attack speed is. So, good note. Attack speed does not affect this ultimate in any sort of way. Another aspect of this ability is, unlike a lot of other abilities in this game, Athena and Bellona, they're passive block abilities. Athena's passive and Bellona's 1 that gives her shield blocks. For some weird, odd reason, Cavalry Charge counts as a basic attack. While I'm recording this, Cavalry Charge, each hit of it counts as a basic attack. And if they have block stacks, they will block a hit of your ultimate, which is significant to know. So just a heads up. Another thing this ability does not talk about is while you're in the ultimate, even though you can steer that, if you hold back on S on a keyboard, you can make it extremely slow and then turn around instantly. This is a very useful tactic when it comes to sticking to an opponent, making sure you get all the hits off. I'm going to show this with Odin real quick. If I were just to do normal speed and trying to hit him sideways, the max get is 3 off. Let me show this better by getting closer to him. His ultimate, you'll see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's holding back on it. If I were to do the full charge while running max speed, I will not be able to hit all these. I only hit 5 out of that instead of 6. Another interesting note, movement speed on his ultimate affects it. Even though attack speed does not, okay? Movement speed does. Okay? So this is with no movement speed. Look at the top here, we are at I'm going to start at 225. When we get to the other end here, at max duration, this is where we go. We end up to just the other side here in 4 seconds at the full duration. If I were to build movement speed on him. Movement. Okay, if I were to build movement speed on him and do this, as you can see, he can get to the other side of the map a lot faster because he has the movement speed. It scales with movement speed. That's very important to note. You do not want too much movement speed, again, because then it will make it very difficult for you to hold back on it. Because this is the fastest this is the slowest he will go with max movement speed. Okay. One other interesting to note about the ultimate. Sell these again. One other interesting thing to note about the ultimate. The painless with the ability changes this. When you hit a god with your ultimate, they get slowed for 20% of their movement speed, 25% of their movement speed, and whenever you land, that enemy gets a 1.5 second stun at max conviction, max painless. What happens is the slow becomes 40% and the stun becomes 2 seconds now. That's how that works. So that's a very important factor to know, because sometimes you don't want to give them a 40% slow because it's difficult to turn sometimes. Sometimes you want them to continue moving with you. Other times the slow may be very useful. The slow and the stun. Stay with when you dismount. The dismount does not change the stun whatsoever. So if you had full painless and you would do a 2 second stun, if you dismount late, if you dismount early, you will still get the 2 second stun. Now, that is everything about his abilities that I want to cover. Now going on to his lane clear, how to level him up, etc. Guan Yu is a very interesting character. At level 1, you normally always want Tally Assault. It's such a great ability. It does 150 damage at rank 1 of an ability. This literally does nearly double the amount of Warrior's Will. Actually, before I go into that, let me talk about his scaling real quick. Give me one moment, let me charge Morningstar. Okay, his scaling for his abilities, by the way. 60% on Warrior's Will. His Conviction does not have any scaling whatsoever. No matter how much damage you build, the heal will do the same amount, unless you have Painless, etc. The charge, Talu Assault. So it shows 20% here. How this actually works is because it's 10 hits, it does 200% of your scaling. Wait, it does 200 scaling. So what that means is you do, instead of doing 150, you do 170. This becomes 20 damage for an item that you would have only 10 damage on if you were to get all the ticks on it. That's not even including the fact that you're shredding protections. This is why this ability is so great early on. They used to be, when Bluestone was first released with Talu Assault, they used to be a meme form where it was Machine Gun Guan Yu, where if you didn't have a way to stop Talu Assault, you were losing at least half your health at level 1. It was really scary. So anyway, going back, you want to take Talu Assault over Warrior's Will and Conviction nearly every single time at level 1. At level 2, oh, that's cooldowns. At level 2, normally you would want to take, this depends on how it works out. Normally I take Warrior's Will. That way you can get Talu Assault faster. Conviction can also be extremely beneficial, especially in the solo lane, because you want to heal your minions up. This is one of the few abilities in the game that heal minions. Another one being Hell's 3 and Light Stance. But one of the few abilities that actually heals minions, and this can, early game minions are very painful to the opponent. So there's that. So that's up to you whether or not you want to decide, hey, I want to be annoyance to my the person I'm fighting. But you have to be careful on who you're fighting. If you're fighting a Hades, you do not want to get your 1 first. He can still burn through all your minions before Conviction does anything to do anything. You would rather have Warrior's Will, in fact. If you're inversing a Hades, you don't even want Talu Assault, because he can silence you out of Talu's Assault. Hades is one of Guan Yu's most difficult matchups, and in that instance, you want to max out your 2 first. But regardless of that, if this is a normal build, a normal fight you're going against, like it's not a counter matchup, you would normally do this. Level 3, you would normally get Talu Assault again. Level 4, you should have all 3 of your abilities. Level 5, you should either take a point in your ultimate, and because again his ultimate is one of the highest damaging ultimates in the entire game, you can go for that early kill. However, it's it's 80 mana. It's more expensive than Talu Assault. So if you were, let's say instead you want to focus more on wave clearing because you're not going to get that kill, you can take a 3rd level in Talu Assault. At level 6, this is what it should look like. At level 7 and 8, 7 you should look like this. At level 8, I suggest, like in other God videos, you should point skip. That way you can get max Talu Assault and level 2 of your ultimate. Because you can hit this 6 times, but the scaling is drastically increased. I'm just going to do this real quick. Get Morningstar again. There we go, Morningstar. Okay, so let's say for example, this starts off with, this is 30%. So if this does 118 damage on the first hit, the second hit, because it's 20% of, actually I should get a little bit more, is hits against by 20%. This is damage escalation in general. So the first hit, let me get full pen real quick. Assy, Hasten. I actually want to see something. As you can see, it does the total amount. The last hit of this ability, because I hit, because of how it works, it will pretty much do double the damage. And that's the wrong one. Okay. I don't need Itchy Ball, I just remembered. Okay. So my basic will do 67. This is to show I'm doing true damage. With my ultimate, the first hit should be doing 118. The second hit should be doing somewhere around 135 about. third hit will continue on top. We'll do 20% of 135. Then whatever that is, we'll do 20% of that. That's why this ability is so good. You can end up doing at level 1, since you get 6 hits. I'll go D-level to level 1 real quick. I'll head to level 5 now. Okay. 85, and we're just gonna do this. 85, 106, 123, 141, okay. So this is about 780, I want to say, about with this. 780 for a level 1 ultimate is crazy. Look at my health right now. This is 890. This would normally be about this is the health of a warrior. And this is with just one ability will put me down to about here if I get hit by all those hits. So that's true. That's why this ability is so good. And Guan Yu at level 5 is one of his strongest points in the game. Second only to his level 9. Okay. Now continuing onward, as I said earlier, you want to point skip. At level 10. Now this depends on how the game's going. If there's a lot more team fights going on, you may want conviction. That way they heal up your team more. If you don't think that's necessary, you can also go Warrior's Will. Guan Yu, you can level up the 1, the 2, or the 2 anytime you want, like in either one's priority. There are a few instances where you want to max out the 2. Let me just show real quick. Let's say, for example, a lot of team fights happening, you want to max out your heal first. Okay? At level 13, sorry, I accidentally took an extra point in this. But level 13, you want you always want to level up your ultimate anytime you can, because your ultimate is extremely powerful. At level 13, again, this is another really strong point for him. He has one of these maxed out. He doesn't really have a weak point except for the fact that he gets countered easily in lane. What do I mean by that? Now I'm going to D-level, and I am going to show his biggest weakness right now. His biggest weakness. His Talu Assault. The only thing it stops is knockbacks. He can get silenced during this. It will stop the entire ability. He can get stunned during this. It will stop the entire ability. He can get rooted in place so he can't hit the back arches with this ability. He will, quote unquote, what's another really hard CC that screws him over? He can get mesmerized, and it will stop him in place. If you're versing anyone that has any form of CC like those, you cannot clear the way with Talu Assault. They will not let you do that. But instead, what you would probably have to do is level up Warrior's Will first. Because Warrior's Will at least won't get disrupted like that. So you can actually clear the way. But the problem with Warrior's Will is, as I'm going to show up here, when minions respawn, because minions are stupid, I can't force them to respawn. But the problem is Warrior's Will only does 80 damage to 300. This will do 150 to 550 damage, which is crazy, but I still can't get over that. But regardless, this is considered weaker compared to this, especially because all you get from this is a slow, while the 3 you get protection shred. But as you see with the 2, you can't really reach those minions. You have to do it at an angle. The best you can get is probably 5 in total. You can't get the last one normally because it's out of place. But that's how it works. You have to do that, and then use your 1 to actually heal up your allies. One other thing you can do if you're versing a very difficult matchup, you can force them to use their ability to like stun you and stuff early. You can pressure them using Talu Assault, and then make them mez you. And then what you can do is use your conviction. You can use your Warrior's Will on them. And if there's an ally in the area, but most likely not in solo lane, you can heal up your ally, and because you get the increased cooldowns back, you can get Talu Assault faster than they get their ability that stops your Talu Assault back. Okay, that is all that. Now, lastly, I want to go over item builds. So normally, with Guan Yu specifically, he is more ability based, and a lot of the time, he has a more cookie cutter build than a lot of other warriors. He wants to start off Bluestone Pendant. Bluestone Pendant is very important. Let me sell this real quick. Bluestone Pendant is very important to him. Bluestone Pendant makes it so his Talu Assault shreds. It literally is like a machine gun. Normally, because of the fact that he's ability based, you don't want to get Mark of the Vanguard with Bluestone. What you would normally do instead is start going to Warrior Tabby. You get Boots 1 and you get potions. Depending on the matchup, for healing potions, for multi potions, or for healing potions for mana potions, depends on whether or not you know you're going to get your blue buff or not. I recommend Teleport as the first active, but I'll get into actives in a little bit. Regardless, it should look something like this. Then you max out, you do the Warrior Tabby. Then afterwards, depending on who you're against, in the solo lane, if you are against a physical, and and it's a physical that doesn't stop your CC, doesn't stop your Talu Assault, Breastplate of Valor is a very useful item. Another useful item to have with it is Mystical Mail. Is also very useful on him. Specifically, Mystical Mail is very useful if you're fighting a Loki. You can see when he's invisible with the Mystical Mail. So let's say, for example, you're not fighting a Loki. Let's say you're fighting a warrior that doesn't actually have any sort of CC to interrupt your Talu Assault. You go Breastplate normally. Third item is normally Spirit Robe. Fourth item is normally, can be a lot of other things. You can go Gladiator Shield. Gladiator Shield is very beneficial. It maxes, actually no, instead of Breastplate actually, you want to most likely go either Mystical Mail or start rushing. Gladiator Shield is pretty good because it gives you a lot more sustained lane, because Guan Yu is considered a very mana hungry god. So you go Gladiator Shield. Third, Guan Yu has these two items are interchangeable whether you go third or fourth with it, but normally you want both these items back to back. Spirit Robe and Shield of Regrowth. Shield of Regrowth gives Guan Yu pretty much a sprint button. Shield of Regrowth, what it does is, because Guan Yu has healing in his ability, in his kit, and conviction, what it does is, to show a great example of it, so right now I'm moving at this speed. If I were to use my 1, I move faster, and for 3 seconds, and I get like a little mini speed boost, sort of. And this is very useful for chasing enemies, and then when I get up to them, I can dash through them and slow them. And then I can take their protections away and just be like, this is mine now. And that's too bad. Spirit Robe is great in general. It's a great item. 15% mitigation whenever you're CC'd. They're going to want to CC you because they do not want to take 550 damage from Talu Assault, because this will be maxed by the time you have this. But they do not want to take 550 damage, so they'll be scared out of their mind. They'll be like, nah, I don't want to do this, man. After you do Shield of Regrowth and Spirit Robe, depends on the matchup. If there's healing, Pestilence, Pestilence here, if there's healing, if they have a strong knockback, polar grab, or knockup, Stone of Guy can be useful, but remember Guan Yu, he's kind of like the anti-knockup god. He puts his boots on the ground and he's like, I'm staying here. His 3 is knock up immune and knock back immune. His 2 is knock up immune and knock back immune. So it's very useful. However, one thing to note is his 3 and 2, even though they're both knock up and knock back immune, if a stun or something happens before that, it cancels out the 2 or the 3, and then the knockback still takes place because of the fact the stun happened first. This is very particular with Hercules, because Hercules' driving strike works like that. Anyway, continuing on. Magi might be very useful if you are having difficulty in lane, they have some sort of way to stop you out of Talus Assault. You might actually want to rush this instead of Gladiator Shield if you have a really, really bad matchup. But other than that, I don't suggest it unless 5th item maybe. Other useful items, penetration-wise, Brawler is useful. Jotons is useful. I don't recommend the Crusher on him. I do not recommend Titans either on him. Penetration-wise, Stone Cutting I don't recommend, or Masamune might be a little bit useful, but I don't recommend it that much. Void Shield is useful on him. Shifter Shields is very good for a 5th item because of the fact that it gives you 70 damage or 50 protections when you're under 50% of your health. Other than that, let's see here. Anything else I want to go over health-wise? Frostbound, no. Reinforged can be useful. It will scale drastically with your ultimate because each time they are hit, they are slowed, and that counts as a CC you've done. So, a crowd control you have done, so it increases the damage. Runic, don't recommend. Blackthorn, I don't recommend that much. Mid-Guardian can be useful if you're versing a lot of auto attackers. Shoguns can be useful if you guys have a lot of auto attackers. Witchblade I don't recommend. I would rather have Pestilence over Witchblade. Wingblade can be useful if you're fighting into a lot of slows. Emperors I don't recommend. That's it pretty much, I believe, when it comes to items. Mantle of Discord is a great item in general. And it will max out your CDR. So I would recommend it. You can also go Mail Renewal, which is very useful. Again, I would recommend 5th item either being Shifter's Shield, Mantle Discord, Mail Renewal, or Shoguns. Genjis can be useful too, but that's in particular circumstances. Actually, going back to it, I don't recommend Jotun's Breastplate because of the fact that that has too much cooldown. And you don't want to be overcapped with cooldown because this has 10%, this has 10%, this has 10%. And then last item you would sell Bluestone, and again Mantle Discord, Mail Renewal, any of those. Any of the ones I recommended. As if you do end up getting a Mantle Discord, Mail Renewal, or Shogun's 5th item, do not get one of these. Do not get the other two. Instead, I would suggest going into like Void's Shield or Shifters, something that will give you damage. Lastly, relic-wise, Guan Yu, he will majority of the time only be played in solo lane. He can be support, and he can be jungle, very rarely. But a lot of times since he's solo lane, you would want to build teleport as first relic. That way you can get the lane in that and rotate. Second relic, up to you. Bracer is always useful, especially in the current meta of 4.12 Bracer meta. Bracer is extremely powerful. Guan Yu, the one difficulty is using Bracer is Guan Yu has healing in his kit, so they're most likely going to have anti-heal, and anti-heal does affect Bracer, so be very careful about that. Phantom if they have an Odin and stuff like that, Yamiya, Kabrakan. Thorns can be very beneficial. Sunder I don't recommend because of the fact that Sunder, ever since the nerf, it hasn't been as great. There's better actives now. Shell is useful if you want to be supportive to your team. Frenzy for helping out with objectives, but other than that, it's not that great. Aegis is very useful for baiting things out. I would actually recommend Aegis over Bracer in this instance of a warrior because Bracer works with anti-healing works against Bracer, while Aegis is flat out immune to you from damage. That can be very useful. Other than that, Hog, Blink, and Sprint are useless, really, for Guan Yu. Beads can be useful, but you have CC immunity in your ultimate, and your job is you spam your abilities to get your ultimate back faster, and then keep using he's very team fight oriented. Overall, nothing else to talk about with Guan Yu. I covered his lane clear, I covered what his abilities do. Yep, that's it. So this has been the Guan Yu Guide. I hope you guys found it very beneficial and useful. Again, this is a tutorial made specifically for newcomers, and there's a few advanced tips. Hopefully some of you guys found useful. Other than that, if I miss anything, please let me know in the comment section below, and I hope everyone has a great day whenever you're watching this.